It's that time of the year again, and to celebrate, I'll be making everyone's favorite Halloween movie, Paranorman. Just kidding.
It's Monster House.
I'm Aluka, and I make things with a 30 pin, and in today's video, I'll be making the monster house. I started with a square because it's a house, and all houses are just squares really. And that's why I picked this, well, because it also is my favorite Halloween movie, and because it's really easy to make. You don't have to be good at filling in, all you need is a lot of free time and to crush your will to live. These took a really long time to fill in. One wall took me 1 hour to make, and it's because I'd like to be slightly above average and I filled it in 3 times. I did this to protect it just in case I accidentally dropped it.
2,000 years later.
I can't tell you how many hours it took me to make all of this, but I can tell you that I will never get that time back. And because I suffered enough, I didn't want to smooth every piece one by one, so I decided to use an iron and some parchment paper. And this didn't work because my iron randomly decided not to get hot enough, even though I've done this 1,000 times before, so I was forced to manually smooth all of them out. One by one by one by one, until I got to the roof, and I got to do something different. I basically put these lines in it so I can bend the roof so it wasn't flat. As you can see in the photo, I'm making an angry version of the house. This whole project to me is kind of like when someone asks you to do something, it's like a really easy thing to do, but you keep putting it off because it's like you don't feel like doing it. That's how long it took me to do this. I was just constantly doing the same thing over and over and over again. I actually planned something. I made the house crooked so when I put the wood on it, I could angle the wood in a way it looked like the house was breaking from the inside. Once my crooked house was done, it was onto the roof. For the roof, I lined up the pieces onto the house to see if they fit and then just put them together. I did that twice and both of these pieces should fit together perfectly, and they didn't, and I had to improvise. I filled it in, then added an inch to the bottom of it. And if you're curious about the roofing, I just made these really long lines of filament, and my plan is to smooth them out and then layer them on top of each other. I made that as a test to see if it can work, and I have to smooth out all of these pieces one by one again. But Diet Coke got me through it. But before I did that, I decided to add some extra detail and add a bunch of holes on the roof. I put a bunch of holes in here, all different sizes to give it a more of a natural look, and this is how it turned out, and I'm really happy with it. The extra layer of detail really shows. Now back to the roofing. Before I put all the pieces on, I had to cut them so they were straight. And then I had to cut lines in them so they could wrap around the roof. I made 28 in total, and it took me about 4 minutes to make each one. I just used filament to put them on. I was going to use glue, but I figured since they'd be stacked on top of each other, they'll end up holding really well. And the roof turned out amazing. I'm really happy that the shape of the roof didn't get lost when I added that stuff onto it. And that's the roof of the second floor window. And speaking of windows, we have to add the window on the left side of the house. And of course the front door. Next up were the bigger details like the walls on the second window. I also added the front porch. Then I added the apron of the house. I had no idea what this was called, thanks to Google. Once all the big pieces were on, it finally started to look like the monster house. I just have one more small step before we add the wood. And that was to give the house an angry nose. And for the rest of the facial expressions, I'll be using wood. And for the wood, I'll be using wax sticks because it would just take me way too long to make them with a 30 pin. This was the easiest part of the whole entire build, but I still have to cut them before I glue them on. And to glue them on, I'll be using my mom's wood glue. Fortunately, there was just enough left in the bottle for me to glue all the wood on. Unfortunately for her, she'll have to go get herself a new bottle. I used the sticks to give the house an angry eyebrow, and I put some more on the nose. I did this for all the sides. I just put the sticks wherever I thought they'd look nice. Then I needed to bring the roof back for the arms. I originally thought the arms were on the side of the house, but no, they're on the roof. If I would have known this before, I would have put the arms on and the roofing on at the same time, and I could have made that look really cool, but it still turned out nice in the end. And once that was done, I made another one, but I purposely made this one skinnier to give it a bit of a contrast. I smoothed both pieces out and then used my soldering iron to add the detail. And to stick them on, I just used regular old gel super glue. And for the teeth, I used those same wax sticks, but I broke them up in pieces to give them sharp edges. I tried to use that same super glue I used for the arms, but it didn't work, so I ended up attaching the wood with my 3D pen. And once the teeth were on, I finally saw Constance in all her beauty. And since the house was done and the roof was done, the next thing was painting. I decided to go with black, 1, because I can't mess it up, and 2, because I can't mess it up. I'm not a good painter and I don't really like painting, I just have to, well, because I have to. And then I ran into a problem you probably saw coming. There's no way for me to paint behind the teeth. I actually thought I had black spray paint, but we were all out. But before I show you how I fix this, look how unique making stuff with the 3D pen is. The light shines perfectly through and just adds another layer of detail. I ended up using that cup of black paint and water you just saw, and I added a spray nozzle on it and decided to just spray everything down. And the only thing this did was make a giant complete mess. It didn't work at all, so I ended up having to just remove all the teeth and just paint it manually. And once everything was painted black, I decided to go over it with a little bit of gray. And I ended up adding way too much. It's supposed to be a little bit to make the black pop. But I removed some of it and kept on going. I removed the tape that was protecting the house from eternal darkness. And I decided to paint the back of the windows red so they pop when lights go on. And that's all for me making Monk's house with the 3D pen. If you like this video or like the way it turned out, please consider leaving me a like, comment, or even subscribing. Thanks for making it this far or clicking to this part.